Figma Motion was just announced at Config 2026. I'm going to walk you through all the basics on how to use it. Let's jump in. Now, the way to get to Figma Motion could not be easier. All you need to do is open a new design file, and then here at the bottom, you just tap on Motion. Then the timeline will pop up. As you can see, it's still in beta, so I'm sure there's so much more left to come. Let's start by adding our first animation. I have a link in the description to download this file if you want to follow along. So I'll zoom into this frame over here, and I've got this lovely little dog. And if I click on it, you can see that I'm already getting this prompt to either use the agent to add in an animation, or I can add an animation from here. On the design panel on the right, you see that it's changed a little bit for motion. There's an animation section here at the top, and I can just click on plus, and then straight away it's dropped something into my timeline. Now in this drop down here, I've got the basics: position, scale, rotation, size, opacity. Let's say this position one, I wanted to slide in from the left. I want it to slide in, let's say 1000 pixels, and I don't need a delay, I don't need a duration. We'll look at easing in a second. Then all I need to do is click on the spacebar, and it did it. Amazing, okay? Straight away, so simple, so quick. Now that we have something inside of our timeline, let's just have a look at how this timeline is even structured. So on the right, you'll have this control for zooming in and out of the timeline if you're doing like complex stuff and you want to get really into the detail. You can also zoom in and out with a trackpad, just kind of using 2 fingers, or you can hold down Command and use the wheel on your mouse. On the left, you can see that we have the current time. So if I move that, you see that that changes and it's in milliseconds. I can also change it to seconds if I want. And then next to it, I've got the full duration of my timeline. So you can see here that it kind of stops, this white box stops at 2, which means that that is the duration. So if something is looping, it will only loop within those 2 seconds. Speaking of looping, we have this button here where we can set it to loop, play it only once, or ping pong. Ping pong means it goes to the end and then starts from the end to the front. So ping pong. Now you can see here that it's labeled super clearly, this is position. And if I play it again, you see that that was pretty quick. I can also just take this handle over here and drag it, and now that animation will just take a bit longer. Amazing. I can also add animations on top of animations. So while I'm selecting this dog, I can click on plus and then add, let's say, a rotation animation. So I wanted to rotate clockwise and 180 degrees. Yeah, that's fine. And you can see I'm going to actually delay this. So this should happen like in the middle. So it's going to move, whoop, turn around. So fun. In the animation, we also have this sort of library of animations. So when you click on the plus, you only get the basic like 4 or 5. But if you go in here, there are so many more. So you could do something like magnify. Let's see, what does that do? Ooh, it moved it to the end. Let me move that back. Let's see. So fun. This almost, and please excuse me for making this comparison, this reminds me of PowerPoint. But like in the best way. It's still Figma, it's way better. But kind of reminds me of that, doesn't it? I would really encourage you to go in and explore all of the animations that are in this library. They're super cool. You can do some really fun things with them. What if you don't want to use one of the preset ones and you want to do it yourself? Well, actually, it's really simple. I can do that using keyframing. Now, please don't get scared from this big fancy term. All that keyframing means is at this point in time, I want you to be A, and then at this point in time, I want you to be B. And the magic of motion and keyframing is that the software, in this case Figma, is going to figure out how to get it from A to B in the smoothest way possible. Now let's move our square. I wanted to start here. So what I need to do inside of my design panel, in transform, because that's the thing I want to move, you can see this keyframe button here. So I'm going to add a keyframe. That sort of locks in, this is A. At this point in time, I need to be at 204,514. Now I'm going to move in time to, let's say, 1 second. And then I'm going to move the square to where I want it to be. And you can see that it's added another keyframe. So it knows at keyframe 1, I need to be in one place, keyframe 2, I need to be in another place. So if I go back and play it, you see that it connected those dots for me. Now that is all that keyframing really is. You can get creative with it, yeah? So like in the middle here, because I've already got keyframes on for this position, if I move it to the top, it will add in that other one. And then let's see it now. Whee! Fun. Now we can also see that I can control these keyframes from my timeline. If I select just this position, I can move exactly to specific keyframes if I want to move something. If you've ever done any video animation or any motion before, you know that this is super crucial, because if you just try and kind of estimate it, if I move the timeline and I think this is where it is and I move it out of the way, I've now created an extra keyframe instead of editing the previous one. So use these to kind of snap to your keyframes. If you are scrolling the timeline header, you can also hold down Shift and it will help you like snap to other keyframes that are already there. Let's make a slightly more complex manual animation together. I have this frame over here and I want it to toggle and change from daytime to nighttime. So let's start with the first one, which is this background. I've got this big chunky background, and at point 1, I want it to be this color. So I'll do that. And then at the last point, I'm actually going to use the input to move my header to 2 seconds. So right at the very end, I want it to be like a dark color. So let me change that like that. So now we know when I play my animation, it's just gonna fade to that other color. Great. The next thing that I want to happen is that I want this circle to move from one side to the other side. So I'll go all the way to the start and then I will position it exactly where it is. And then I'll move all the way to the end and I'll just move it. I'm holding down Shift to make sure that I'm moving in a straight line. So let's see that. Wonderful. So I'm actually going to change the duration of this to be 1 second, and then I'll make this one 1 second as well. I'll make my timeline smaller to fit those two. Great. Let's have a look at it. Great. Now, what I also want to happen is that I want the color of the ellipse to change as well. Now, please remember, you have to kind of invoke the keyframe first before you make any changes. So at the start, it's yellow, add a keyframe. Then I'll go to the end, and when it gets to the end, I want to make it, what color should it be? A dark purple. Perfect. Let's have a look. Great. Now let's not make this loop. I want it to ping pong, if anything. Great. Now I can see that it's actually moving too far to the right. So I've used the arrow to get to the like correct placement of my keyframe, and I'm just going to move it back a tiny bit. Great. Now this is cute. Yeah, it's kind of doing what we wanted it to do, right? It's moving from right to left. I'm actually going to make this a bit longer, move all of these together to the center. So I've got a second where it stops kind of either side. Now it's nice, but it's not great, is it? So what I can do is I can use the Bezier curve in order to make it a bit more fancy. If you remember from basic prototyping in Figma, where we can use auto layout and then make it like bouncy or slow or stuff like that, that's the Bezier curve. So if I go to the position one, see if I tap in the middle, I have this thing showing me that it's using linear easing, and I don't want it to be linear. I'm going to use ease in, out, back. So you can see this is the curve that it's going to follow. And when I play that, straight away, we can see there's so much more personality into this animation. One more thing that I can add in the middle, just to give it a bit more of a realistic feel. I'm going to go to the start. I'm going to use these to get to the first point. Great. I'll add a scale here at 100%. Then I'll go to the last position, add another scale. So technically I've added 100 on one side and 100 on the other, so nothing's gonna happen. But I'm gonna go to the middle of this, or like approximately the middle, and I'm going to make another keyframe where it's 50%. So what's gonna happen is start at 100, 50 in the middle, 100 at the end. Let's have a look. Woo, so fancy. Very cool. And yeah, and that took a few minutes. Amazing. Thank you, Figma. I love you. Now, with that one, we had to do a lot of like start the keyframe, finish the keyframe, make sure that we're setting all of these things. There is also a way to do this automatically called auto keyframing. So if I select my frame over here, and then there's a button right here, toggle auto keyframing. Once that's on, it almost uses listeners to see what is even happening inside of this frame, and then make sure to put in the correct keyframes. So I'll select this element over here, and then at this point it's there. I'll move to like 4 seconds or 0.4 seconds, move it up here, make it bigger, and then also change the color of it to this. And you can see automatically all of these different property keyframes have been added in. I didn't have to turn them on like I did before. So, and if I play this, you'll see that it's happening. And this is the same if there's multiple items on the page. Another thing that we can do is path trimming, which is divine. So for example, I have this path over here that I just drew with the pencil. And if I go into Figma Motion, now you can see that on the right side, if I select this path, I have these kind of path trims elements. Now I do have to start a keyframe in order to use them. So at the start, I want it to maybe look empty. So instead of 100%, let me just make this bigger. Instead of 100%, I want it to be at 0%. And then at the end, let's say after 1 second, I want the end to be at 100%. Let's have a look. Amazing. Now I can also play around with the start of it. So let me move to my keyframe. We know we have to be exact. Perfect. And let's say at the end, actually, that is at 99. So it sort of like chases its tail. Let's have a look. Ooh. Okay, now you can see what happened here, and this is something that happens a lot when you start doing animation. I wanted it to chase its tail, but it didn't really do that. It kind of always stayed a small dot. It was because the start and the end are always going to be almost like 1% difference between them. So what I can do is I can move the keyframe a little bit. So I'll select just the start point for the path trim, and I'll move it in just a little bit. And then what will happen is, because that one starts later, it almost gives it a chance to get long enough to do what we want it to do. Look at that. Now all of this is way too quick. Now because they are for the same vector, I can use this sort of rectangle at the top to just drag them all out. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. So let's see it. So cool! Now we can do a similar thing for an arc. Let's say I've got this arc over here. We can already see that I've got the lovely keyframe over here. I'll go actually backwards. So I know at like 1.6 seconds, let's say, I want it to end where it is now. So I'll click on that, and then I'll go backwards to the start. And at the start, I actually want it to be at 0% instead of 75. Let's have a look. So simple. And we know that this looks a bit boring, but we know what we can do. We can just add in some easing. I'll hover over my sweep over here because that's the one that's affected. We can see it's on a custom Bezier right now, but I can change it to anything I want. Let's say ease in back. Let's see how would that look. Oh, interesting. Definitely not what I want, but how cool. Let's go to ease in and out back. I kind of like this one. It kind of does a bit of a bloop bloop. Really, really fun. Now, up till now, we've looked at how we can do it manually and using the library, but we can also use agents to help us with our animations. So for example, I've got this slide over here that says, this is awesome. Each one of our text nodes is different. So you can see here in the layers panel that each one of them is its own text node. Now I'm going to select my frame. I'll go into agents and I'll start a new conversation and I'll say, animate this so each text node drops in on its own playful, and then shows the other words outside there, please. Make it fun and cartoonish. And I'll just set that on its way. So it took a bit of time to think about it, and it's telling me, this is what I've done. Let's have a look at it. I can click open in Figma Motion, jump to the start. Let's see. Very cute. And I like that it kind of expands and then the other ones react to it. And you can see there's so many like complex animations in here and keyframes. I wouldn't have the time to do this on my own. So using an agent for stuff like this, brilliant. Another cool thing that we can do is we can nest these motion animations inside of a component. So for example, I have this component over here, and if I look at it in the design, in the layers panel, I can see that it's a bunch of vectors. I actually used one of the new weave tools in order to create this. And I asked an agent, I said, animate this so each cube falls into place from top to bottom. It took not too long to do this, and then it created this. Pretty good. Yeah, I could obviously tweak it. This is a one-shot prompt, not a very good prompt, but great. Then I put this into a component. Now, one thing to note, because this component actually starts off where there's nothing on the canvas, if I click on it and go into motion, if my header is there, it will look as if it's empty, but it's just because that's the starting state of it. So no need to fret. For this one, what I said, see, empty. What I said for this one is I asked it to add motion to it so it looks like the bands that make it up are crawling from the floor to make the shape. Let's have a look. Pretty cute, yeah? Now, because these are components, I can put them into a frame, which is what I did over here. And you can see that in the timeline, we can see that they are purple, which we know is the color for a component or an instance or anything like that. And they work exactly as they would. Now, why would I put it into a component? A, it's easier to sort of like manipulate each one at a different time. Yes, they could just be a frame as well. They don't have to be a component, but this makes it reusable. But having them inside of their own frame with their own animations going on means that I can add things on top of it and I still have a pretty clean timeline. So for example, let's say this one, I want it at the start to be upside down. So I'll just put it at 360. You see it already added in a keyframe for me. And then at the end, so let me just go to the end of this timeline. I want it to be in the correct direction. So I'll put a 0. Let's have a look at it. Haha. See, so it's doing both the animation that's inside of the component and the animation that I've just added on. Now, you might ask, what can I do with these once I've made them? You can export these in 2 different ways. The first one is if you select a frame that has any motion on it, and you can see that with the motion symbol next to it, and go into dev mode, you will get all of the information about the motion in here as well. So then you can hand that over to whoever's developing it. You can also view the animation in a timeline view. So the developers are able to see this timeline just like you would, and they can they can select specific elements inside of it to see what is their specific journey within this animation. Another way that you can export this is just in normal Figma design. I could go into export, and you can see we now have this new segmentation between static and animated. If I click on animated, I have MP4, WebM, GIF, or animated SVG. So if I just export this as an MP4, I can choose the quality, the size, and the frame rate in case you need it to fit to a specific thing, and then you just export it. And you can see we have this new funky export UI as well. That was just a little quick overview of the basics of Figma Motion. This is one of the most exciting announcements they've had in the last few years. Yeah, I said it. I cannot wait to try this more, see what else is to come when it comes out of beta. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment below. Let me know what other videos you want to see and what excited you most about Config 2026. See you at the next one.